Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Earlier today, actually, it was today, believe it or not, it was very early this morning, I did a talk on Finnish composer Levi Madetoja. I love Levi Madetoja. He's absolutely terrific. And of course, I pronounced his name wrong. I said it was Levi. It's Levi. I always thought it was Levi. But for some reason today, I thought it was Levi. And of course, my Finnish friends chimed in immediately saying, "No, you fool. It's Levi." Well, I'm sorry. One of the reasons, the thing I forgot, first of all, is that the letter E in Finnish, when there are two of them, is pronounced somewhat similarly to the letter Q, only with a more guttural emphasis and a slight upthrust of the tongue. Now, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't care about how I pronounce anything, but I do care about Finnish. I want to get Finnish right. I don't know. It's kind of like this impossible challenge, only because I know I'm never going to get it right. So I keep trying different things, and eventually I figure something is going to fit. I know it's impossible, and I know I'm going to screw it up, but in this particular case, I apologize to all of my friends in Finland. It is Levi Madetoja, I think. Maybe that's closer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What does this have to do with Martinu? Well, which is what I'm talking about now, Martinu. Well, I was going through the M's, the M composers. They're M composers, and I was looking at Madetoja, and sort of slightly to the right, a couple of rows down, was Martinu. And I figured, I haven't done a Martinu talk in a while, so I think it's time that we did another one. I mean, I've only done the symphonies, and I did the Bouquet of Flowers, and, I've got to there's so much I have to do because of the kind of composer Martinu was. He was really a classical style composer. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is he found his style, his idiom, and then just wrote in it tons and hundreds of works in that idiom. It worked beautifully for him. And it's great music. It doesn't mean everything is equally great, but it's a great style. It was a great idiom, a personal idiom, and he was able to create just a huge quantity of fabulous music working within that style, which is what, of course, the great classical composers did. They had what was called in the musicology biz a common practice, a style that sort of everybody was working in. There wasn't so much of there wasn't so much of a common practice in Martinu's day. He sort of invented his own, but it was his own personal common practice, if you want to call it that. It was consisted of sort of Stravinsky's neoclassicism with Czech folk music and maybe a little bit of jazz and popular music thrown in, and whatever elements went into it, they combined to create his own style. And I have a disc here that really, really sort of encapsulates that very, very beautifully. It tells you both what that style is and what the elements of it were, because at different points in his career, he highlighted different aspects of that style, depending on the work and the circumstances. I mean, it could have been anything. And it's really, really wonderful to hear those elements all coming together. And here's a disc that just does it. It does it so tellingly and so effectively and so marvelously. And it's exactly the kind of disc that no one's going to pay attention to because Martinu isn't as famous as he deserves to be, and the works aren't all that well known, and they're written for sort of a hodgepodge of instruments. So it's not like you're saying, oh, the string quartets or, oh, the piano concertos. No, it's the miscellaneous chamber music stuff. And here it is on Naxos. This is one of the great Martinu discs in the history of mankind, and you really should have it. And after I play you these samples, you're going to want it. I know you're going to want it. It's just a gorgeous disc. I listen to it all the time. It's so much like a part of my life, it would almost never occur to me to talk about it. I just assume it's part of everybody's, but it's not. And here it is. There are four works, and three of them each illustrate one of those aspects of Martinu's style that I talked about, sort of the neoclassical, the jazz, the Czech folk music. And then there's one that's an amalgamation of all of that stuff in one sort of harmonious mixture. And so here you have it. This is the essence of Martinu on one single disc of weird chamber music pieces or chamber orchestra pieces. I mean, they all fall in the cracks in one way or another, but they all deserve to be heard because they are beautiful, beautiful works. So let's see what's on this incredible disc, which features the Holst Sinfonietta under Klaus Simon. And you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll hear it instantly. There are 4 pieces here. You get the complete ballet, La Revue de Cuisine, the Harpsichord Concerto, Chamber Music number 1. There was no number 2. He died. This was one of the last pieces he wrote in 1959 before his untimely passing. And Les Rondes. What is Les Rondes? Les Rondes, R-O-N-D-E-S. Look, there it is. Les Rondes. Well, we're going to figure it out, and I'll explain it to you. So, in the meantime, let's start at the beginning of the disc. Let's take everything in order. It begins with the Harpsichord Concerto. Now, this is a concerto for harpsichord and chamber orchestra, a very interestingly assembled chamber orchestra. It consists of, obviously, a harpsichord solo, flute, bassoon, piano, 3 violins, violoncello, and double bass. That's it. Now, I have heard several performances of this work, and it sounds like in some performances the string component might be slightly larger, but that's what it's written for. An extraordinarily varied ensemble, and especially to have the harpsichord and the piano together in the same place is very, very unusual. Very, very odd. I mean, there's the Frank Martin Petite Symphonie Concertante. That has a harpsichord and a piano. And a harp, for that matter, but that's a later work. This was composed, 1935? And before that, the only piece I can think of that uses a harpsichord and a piano together is C.P.E. Bach's Concerto for harpsichord and forte piano. So, we're not talking about a frequently encountered combination of instruments. And so I want to play you a little bit of the finale where you can hear particularly well this wonderful combinations that Martinu makes using the harpsichord with the piano and the other instruments, of course. And this is quintessential neoclassical Martinu, as you might expect from a harpsichord concerto. Listen to this. I'm sure you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. It is a classical, neo-Baroque, neoclassical kind of piece. The harpsichord soloist was Robert Hill, and it's an absolutely beautiful performance. But the next thing on the disc is Chamber Music number 1. This also had a subtitle, Les Fêtes Nocturnes, the nocturnal festivals. And as I said, it's one of Martinu's very, very last pieces. It dates from 1959, and it is scored, let me see here. We'll take a look at the bookie. Here we go. Clarinet, harp, piano, and string trio. And again, harp and piano together is an unusual combination. And this is the only major chamber work by Martinu, I think the only chamber work by Martinu that actually uses a harp. And he uses it throughout the work in the most wonderfully evocative way, very, very effectively. And here is a bit of the first movement of Chamber Music number 1. It's in 3 movements. It lasts 20 minutes. It's quite a substantial piece. Listen to the opening movement. Chamber music number one is a synthesis of all of the elements that go into making Martinuvian, Martinewish, Martinalicious. It's marvelous. It's marvelous music. Marvelous Martinu. It's just tremendous. But you can hear that, I think. There's this the Czech folk element, the jazz popular music sort of element, the neoclassical, motoric rhythms and sort of, brittle harmonies. It's so wonderful. It's just marvelous stuff. Anyway, the next work is Les Rondes, Rondes. What are rondes? Well, it means round, meaning simply round dances, folk dances, basically. And this piece is based on sort of Moravian folk music from Martinu's native Moravia. And it's in 6 movements, and it's written for, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, trumpet, piano, and 2 violins. Another extraordinarily unusual combination. I only saw this performed live once in my life at the Savonlinna Festival in Finland. And you listen to it. It's one of those pieces you listen to and you just say, gee whiz, where has this thing been all my life? It is so charming. It's just delightful and fresh and buoyant, and it's in 6 movements, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. 6 movements, and I'm going to play you a bit of the 5th movement. It's an allegretto, and is it an allegretto? Andantino, ignore me. It's an andantino, and boy, can you hear the folk influence right away. It's just great. Here it is. Folkish, right? That's the thing. It's just a great little piece, and you'll love it if you have a chance to listen to it. Of course you will, because you're going to get this disc on Naxos. Anyway, the last work is the ballet Le Revue de Cuisine, the Kitchen Review. This is about one of those crazy Parisian ballet things for chamber ensemble where, a pot's in love with a lid, and the lid is having an affair with the crock, and the crock and the pot have a fight, and the plot is not the relevant point. Let's put it that way, shall we? Now, Martinu made a suite from this ballet, which is quite delicious, and it's pretty well known. It's been recorded a lot of times. Even though it's written for a very, very peculiar ensemble here: clarinet, bassoon, trumpet, piano, violin, and cello. It was thought that the complete score of the ballet was lost, but it wasn't. It was sitting around in Paul Sacher's bathroom or something like that, and Christopher Hogwood, of all people, dug it out and put together the full score. So now we have the complete ballet, and it's a delightful piece. Absolutely wonderful. And it's a fabulous example of Martinu's jazz idiom. So we heard the neoclassical bit in the Harpsichord concerto, the folk music bit in the Les Rondes, and now we're going to hear the jazz influence in Le Revue de Cuisine. And one of the most wonderful movements, for those of you who know this piece, you know what it is. It's the Charleston, which is the battle between, the lid and the pot, or the crock and the fork, or I don't know, it's some kitchen implement having a fight with another kitchen implement in the form of a Charleston. And here it is. Absolutely unforgettably marvelous, isn't it? So, those are the three pieces. And in the chamber music number one, you have the synthetic Martinu, a piece that really is just an amazing personal blending of everything that went into making Martinu Martinu. And I just think this is such a great disc. I can't even tell you. It's just the kind of thing that you need to have recordings for, because you're never going to hear these pieces live, or very seldom, and it's such a pleasure from beginning to end. And like I said, it's the Holst Sinfonietta under Klaus Simon. It's Naxos, and what can I say? Get it, listen to it, love it. It's absolutely amazing. It's the very reason that we all want to keep on listening, right? I think so. So take care. Thank you for listening to me talk about Martinu's weird chamber music things. Let's all just enjoy it. Take care.